The EPA's lead and copper rule revisions are requiring water suppliers to test for lead at schools and childcare facilities. To understand the challenges of this process, I talked to Trevor McProud, lead and copper rule compliance expert. With over a decade of experience in the industry, Trevor is able to share some really insightful information about these new requirements, tools available, and engaging with stakeholders. Check it out.
Starting in October 2024 is the first real requirement where systems have to have a list, a master list of all of the schools and childcare facilities that they serve. It's not just a list that has to be facilities that has to be sampled, but there's a comprehensive set of communication requirements and sampling response requirements and tracking and reporting. So it really is a new complex program that systems will have to build into their ongoing infrastructure and operational systems. When you look at the end-to-end responsibilities and everything that must be completed for compliance, you can start looking at ways to do it more efficiently, looking at ways to manage the communication challenges as best as possible by being proactive.
So what does sampling actually look like in these facilities? Do water systems have to collect samples at every facility in the service area at once, or is there some type of deadline that they have to meet? And in that same vein, how many tap samples from fountains and sinks are actually required?
Yeah, so the lead and copper rule revisions have a minimum requirements, if you want to call them that, where burden on water systems to comply is spread out over multiple years. So the timeline for completing the required sampling is starting in 2025, 20% of all of the facilities every year. So if there were 100 schools and childcare facilities in the system, there could be sampling conducted in 20 every year from 2025 through 2030 to complete that requirement. And then for the requirements of the sampling scope, or referred to as the coverage sometimes, the minimum requirements are really a preliminary screening, as EPA calls it. So the minimum requirements are to sample 5 locations in schools and 2 locations in childcare facilities. So that's specified as 2 drinking fountains and a kitchen sink and a nurse's office sink and another faucet that might be used for drinking in schools, and then 2 locations situated in childcare facilities.
So there's not only the challenge of coordinating the logistics to actually take all of these samples, but then they have to go to the lab for analysis. Are there any tools or options to make this a little bit easier?
Yes, there are. Dropship sampling. So essentially sampling by mail, where traditionally the water system uses their own staff to drop off bottles and pick them up the next day. But there's also, with these types of water samples, they can be shipped in a box empty and then collected by the school and childcare facilities on their time when they have the resources, and then shipped back directly to the lab where they can be analyzed, and then the data would be sent back to the water system. So that sampling by mail streamlines the complicated logistics greatly and allows water systems to potentially take a lot of that responsibility off of their staff and have it done through a third-party automated cloud-based system.
If you're enjoying this conversation and would like to hear more from the brightest minds in environment and infrastructure, please like and subscribe. And if you're looking for a way to make achieving LCR compliance a breeze, look no further than Trinnex's leadCAST platform, a management system for LCR programs built by water engineers. With leadCAST, you'll have everything related to your lead programs in one place, including dropship sampling. Visit Trinnex.io to learn more. Okay, back to the discussion. Utilities are required to communicate with the public more than ever before as part of the lead and copper rule revisions. In this case of school and child care sampling, engaging with stakeholders feels like an especially big piece of this puzzle. What do utilities need to be communicating, and what methods should they be using to do it?
Yeah, it really can't be stressed enough how important it is to communicate carefully and responsibly around this issue, because it is lead in water in schools where children are potentially drinking that water. So it's very important that water systems and utilities come up with a plan proactively before this requirement is really, or the sampling starts, to make sure all the facilities and the stakeholders are aware of the program, and to be as transparent as possible with what's happening, how the program will be implemented, and then subsequently how how the sample results are communicated to the schools and to the childcare facilities. The lesson learned so far with the large scale sampling programs that have been conducted already, no matter how well in compliance the system is otherwise with water quality standards, lead results should be expected at a certain number of locations within these large, complex, older buildings that will be sampled on a large scale basis. And so systems need to be prepared with unexpected and difficult results to communicate to a new set of customers and public stakeholders that will be receiving these results.
Trevor, it's been great to talk with you today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Rachel.